Hi everyone, welcome to Forbes Flash. Thanks for joining us for a special deep dive into the latest Forbes Billionaires list that came out this week. We'll talk all things richest people, and then we'll hear from Forbes wealth reporter Chase Withorn about bringing the list to life. As always, thanks for joining us. So this is our 32nd year ranking the world's richest people, and they keep getting richer. This year, our wealth team found a record 2,208 billionaires from 72 countries and territories. Altogether, the elite group is worth $9.1 trillion, which is 18% more than last year. And how about this eye-opening fact? Their average net worth is a record $4.1 billion. Here's some more context for you. The 20 richest people on the planet are worth $1.2 trillion, which is roughly equivalent to the annual economic output of Mexico. This year, the biggest news is a new number one on the list. Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos comes in to take over for Bill Gates. Bezos isn't just the richest person in the world. He's also the only centibillionaire in existence, with a net worth of $112 billion. That mind-blowing net worth is up a lot from last year, $39.2 billion to be exact, thanks to a rise in shares of Amazon. That jump was the biggest one-year gain since Forbes started tracking billionaires in 1987. So, Bezos pretty easily moved ahead of Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, whose $90 billion fortune couldn't land in the top spot for only the 6th time since 1995. The third name on the list is Warren Buffett, who's probably still pretty comfortable with his $84 billion fortune. Our reporters also took a look at President Donald Trump's fortune. He is, of course, a billionaire, and he lands at number 766 this year with a $3.1 billion fortune. What's most notable is a $400 million decline in his wealth from last year. Markets are partially to blame, especially struggling retail real estate in New York City, but the president's polarizing personality is costing him business as well. And while $3.1 billion isn't even close to the $10 billion plus that Trump once claimed he was worth, it's still enough to make him the richest president in U.S. history. Can you imagine being worth billions of dollars before your 30th birthday? For the third year in a row, the youngest billionaires in the world are Norwegian heiresses Alexandra and Katarina Andersen, who are 21 and 22 years old. The sisters each have a $1.4 billion fortune, inherited from their father. The youngest self-made billionaire is 27-year-old John Collison of Stripe. He co-founded the payment startup with his older brother Patrick Collison, who at 29 is also one of the world's youngest billionaires. They each have a cool $1 billion to their names. This year, you'll notice that there aren't any Saudi Arabian billionaires on the list, and here's why. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman recently forced the country's richest people to turn over their personal fortunes to the state as part of an anti-corruption campaign. There are a multitude of stories about what precisely happened, making it impossible to know definitively how much each billionaire is actually worth. Given that, the wealth editors at Forbes chose to leave all 10 Saudis off our list this year. Some may eventually return to the list in coming years. Time to talk tech. There are a record 206 tech billionaires on our 2018 list, which is 23 more than a year ago. Jeff Bezos obviously landed at the top of the list, but here are some more notable names. Mark Zuckerberg's $71 billion net worth lands him at number 5 overall. Tencent chairman Ma Teng ranks at number 17, and Alibaba's Jack Ma comes in at number 20. Joining us now is Forbes wealth reporter Chase Withorn to give us behind-the-scenes look at the billionaires list.
So a lot of people wonder how we compile the Forbes Billionaires list, and it's a massive, massive undertaking. It takes many dozen reporters, many hours to track down all of the world's billionaires. This year we found 2,208 billionaires. We combed through a database of more than double that to arrive at that number. Most billionaires on the list don't have their whole net worth in cash. So it's not usually money sitting in a bank account. Often their wealth is tied up in the businesses they founded or inherited. And so that kind of stuff is usually traceable. If it's a public company, they have to disclose in the United States with the SEC. So we can comb through that and see how much of a company a person owns. And if it's a public company, the stock market actually puts a value on that for us. For private companies, it's a little bit more difficult and challenging. And in those cases, we try to find credible financial information about the business. And then we talk to experts who can tell us what that business would actually be worth. And so that can be kind of a process to pin down. But that's basically how we do it for private companies and for private assets too that billionaires own. Art collections, yachts, private islands, things like that. We have private island experts who can kind of help us assess the value of something like that. So, and then in some cases we actually do get bank accounts and balance sheets. And I've had a billionaire offer to send me his tax returns and things like that. So. One billionaire that very famously will not release his tax returns is the president, Donald Trump. And so for his net worth, it would obviously be a little bit easier if we had his tax returns. But most of his net worth is really tied up in real estate, and really a lot of it is tied up in New York City real estate. And he has to file even more disclosures, because he's the president. So we can go through all of those disclosures and we can see what he owns, and then we just talk to an incredible number of experts who can pin down a value for that real estate. A lot of billionaires are not so keen to appear on the list or give out, confidential information, particularly if they have private companies or are very, private individuals. Sometimes we can get a lot of pushback, and there are also billionaires who will say, I own a company that may be worth $1 billion, but that's all paper wealth, and I would never sell this company. It's been in my family for generations. I would never sell it. So I'm not really a billionaire. And, you can see where that argument would make some sense, but at the end of the day, they own an asset that's worth more than $1 billion. Even on paper, you are a billionaire. And so if we can pin that down, you're basically going to appear on the list. A lot of people ask why certain people aren't on the list, the members of, the Rothschild family, the Rockefeller family, names like that. Well, there is a Rothschild on the list, and there used to be a Rockefeller on the list until this past year when David Rockefeller passed away. But the list is really a list of individual billionaires rather than, widespread family fortunes. And the same thing for people asking about Vladimir Putin or things like that. It's really a list of individual fortunes, and it's hard to break out where money is so intermingled with the government, in the case of maybe Putin. And the other thing is we are looking into, what we can actually prove and pin down, and we always try to err on the conservative side, whenever doing any of our calculations. So that's why you don't see the whole Walton family on the list. For example, they're probably the wealthiest family in America. You see individual Walton, family members, but certainly not the entire, family. The entire Forbes Billionaires list is really just based on, the numbers that we can prove. It's basically a snapshot of the wealth of the world's billionaires and who they are and what they're worth. And so it's not the kind of thing where, we're going through and picking who's going to be on the list and who's not going to be on the list based on who we want to feature. It's really just a big investigative project to say, here's who the world's wealthiest are, here's how much they have.
Thanks for joining us. Find all this and much, much more about the richest people in the world at #ForbesBillionaires on social. We'll see you next week. Tune in every Friday morning. Same time, same place.